Okay, at this time, anybody in the audience wants to address anything concerning fishing? Yes, sir.
My name is Mike Kelly. I'm chairman of the Commercial Fishing Advisory Board, and I have some information we'd like to start the year off with. I'll wait until you all get a copy before I get started. Since the Reelfoot Commission meeting, we've had several phone discussions with the folks that are on the board, and we talked to them about the commission's request of not being repetitive and 7 or 8 folks speaking on the same subject. And so this is one thing we're trying to accomplish today, is to share with you the subjects of interest that we have for the year 2013. And I'll go over them briefly with you if I could. Number one, we request that the discussions, meetings, and voting on all commercial fishing issues be held in the summer months. The reason for that is many of us are involved in the paddlefish season, and that's November through April, and we don't need to be coming back and forth, meeting and so forth during that time period. Second thing is the Asian carp, that we have some people that are very interested in developing a better commercial fishery for the Asian carp, and there's some tweaking of the rules that would really aid and help them in catching these fish. The third thing is catfish, size increase, and we need a change in the hook net size. The hook net size is 50 years old, and the hook net size was based on old rules of no catfish size. Since the catfish size has changed, we need some equipment changes to adjust to catching the size fish that are legal to catch. Fourth, on paddlefish, is move forward with the study plan. The second thing there is ask the commission to help with the export problems. Number 5 is turtles, additional species for harvest and additional areas open for harvest. I received an email on the do not discuss list. There's nothing on this list that is on the do not discuss list. I have looked at it a dozen times to make sure that there's nothing on this list that's on the do not discuss. So, not asking for any movement on part of the commission today except on one issue, and I'd like for you to look at item B on under 4 on paddlefish, help us with the export problem. If you turn to the letter, second page, if you look at the bottom, I received a letter from some commercial road fishermen and from some dealers, and they asked me to come to you, and I am simply giving you the letter that I received. And they're asking the commission to contact Senator Alexander and Senator Corker and request an audit of the Division of Management Authority and the Division of Scientific Authority as to why Tennessee is the only state that cannot export. What's happened is the other states has taken the business that Tennessee developed. And the thing that is really puzzling to all these folks and talking to them, and I'm puzzled about it too, even though I don't export. Oklahoma has no fish size, and I know you can't talk about fish size. I'm just giving you some information. Oklahoma has no fish size, and they have no problem with the export. So these folks are asking for an audit as to why all these other folks are able to export and Tennessee cannot. So we would ask for your consideration in this, and that you would write a letter to the congressman or whatever you do in an official capacity to ask for this. Any questions?
I've got one. I'd expand your number 2 a little bit about Asian carp is such a problem. I'd like to know what you're talking about, what we can do and how we can help with that.
Okay, several years ago, the commercial fishing industry came and asked for a slot closure on the gill net size from 4-inch up to 6-inch on Kentucky Lake to make that a closed fishing gear size. And the reason for that was to protect the smaller paddlefish, since we had a paddlefish size. And the Asian carp fishermen need that size tweaked a little bit where they can get a bigger twine size because these fish are so violent. So they need a gear that can catch these fish more effective. It won't affect the paddlefish at all because these folks are fishing in an area that normally not any paddlefish there. They're fishing in bays and creeks and sloughs and places where Asian carp hang out. The second thing on that is there is a time in the regulations on the creeks and the bays, and I'm not exactly familiar what that is because I don't do that, but I think they have to be out there at 9 a.m. 4 a.m. Okay. But here's the thing. When these guys hit, you all have seen videos of these Asian carp, how thick they are. When they catch 5,000 or 6,000 pounds of these fish, you can't physically do the work on a timetable if you got to be out of here at 4 o'clock. So it makes them illegal if they hit a bunch of fish and they're trying to catch them and get out of there with them. They need a time adjustment, and they're asking for an extension to the open section of Duck River. Duck River is a lot of shallow, open, wide bay type water and down towards the mouth of it. And the Asian carp are really starting to congregate well there. So they want an open area there to catch them.
Mike, on that A part, are you talking about the diameter of the material that makes up the net?
What they're asking for is, right now, you have to stop at 4-inch, and then you can begin using 6-inch. So from 4-inch to 6-inch is illegal. All they're asking for is to go up to 4.5, because once you get to the 4.5, you can get a bigger diameter that'll hold those 50-pound. Do you know what they're asking for?
As far as how much more time they're asking for, if we can get more specifics, then we can come back to you easier.
Well, I would need to talk to Asian carp fishermen. I wanted to bring you the general agenda for the year.
Okay.
And the subjects that we're interested in, and if they want me to be their chairman, I'm not getting paid. If they want me to be their chairman, we're going to stay on the agenda. So.
Okay. Well,
Well, that's something we can identify with.
not getting
Not
paid.
getting
But no, I think I can speak for the commission. We're excited that somebody's wanting to catch Asian carp, and we want to do everything we can to help them in that regard. I don't know how the agency feels as far as how changing the net size, mesh size is going to pertain to other fish now. Do you have a comment, Bobby?
Yeah, even before Mike Kelly came up here today to speak about Asian carp, I'd already asked our staff if I could give a presentation at the February commission meeting about Asian carp. And I've invited a guest speaker from Illinois, hoping he can make it down here, but they've got some experience in management of Asian carp with commercial fishing methods, and so I would like to give a presentation then to address and make our commission more familiar with the problems and concerns about them, what they're doing, and where they came from and all that.
Have they got a market for a canning facility somewhere close that's viable?
Right now, the major market in America is in Illinois, but the Illinois guy is venturing down. He has set up a buying station in Kentucky, about 100 miles north of these areas we're talking about fishing on Kentucky Lake. So there is a developing market, and which is good news for everybody, for you and for the fishermen, for the sport fishermen, for everybody. And I've been fishing 38 years, with gill nets. I've never seen anything like these fish. I mean, when they come in, it's like shad minnows. I mean, they're by the millions. And it is a serious threat to every kind of fish that we enjoy.
Mike, what I'm taking your list to be is that these are things you would like to get into as we approach the summer months, rather than have the discussion at this time. And so things like what Bobby's proposing in February, getting us educated, will allow us to have a better discussion as we get into the summer. Is that a fair
That's exactly the
picture?
reason I'm here.
Thank you.
And the fact that we have delayed in the past the votes of things up to November when we're trying to start paddlefish season. So let's work on it in the summer when we've got a lot more time to come to meetings and whatever. The only thing that we're asking you to do today is this letter to the senators.
I'd like, while I agree with you about the other issues, the Asian carp is such a problem. And we're gonna have this presentation next month. I'd like to see us, if these, let the agency guys talk about this, but I'd like to see if we can't do something to help them next month. Because these things don't look like a huge conflict, but I'm not sure, so I'd like to.
I will say this, as far as speeding up dealing with the Asian carp, the primary time that they catch these fish is the most successful times, spring and summer. So if we help them before summer, it will make a difference on that particular fish.
Mike, what are the fish used for? I know you say you have a buyer. Is it food?
It is food, and I'm not educated on that market. That's not my part of the business, but I understand that this, by the name, it's Asian carp. And it came from Asia, and I think they're filleting it and sending it back to Asia.
I don't want to spoil my presentation next month. Some of that information would be there, but a couple of the issues that are being proposed, the mesh size increase, I don't think that'll be a problem. I don't think we have anybody opposed to that, but I would like to get some input from our folks. The other one about the changing the times during April and May in the creeks in Kentucky Lake, that could probably be tweaked, but again, I would really like to have some input from our people and probably the public on that too. So, I mean, just a little bit about the history of the reasoning for that regulation. They're only allowed in the creeks in Kentucky Lake from 9 p.m. until 4 a.m. And the reason for that is because, as you probably well know, in April and May on Kentucky Lake, which is probably the best crappie fishery in the world, that's when the crappie fishermen are in those creeks fishing for crappie, and they're trying to reduce the encounters between commercial fishermen and the crappie fishermen during that time. But I think we might be able to tweak the times a little bit, I think, and of course, if a crappie fisherman, we could just let them understand if we don't do something about these Asian carp, they won't be a crappie fishery either. So that's what we got to get that message across too. So.
I think it goes without saying that the commission is in favor of helping any way we can, as long as we can make it work with the other regulations or tweaking them, because we recognize Asian carp's a problem. It's gonna be a bigger problem.
Concerning the request to the congressman, there's no study needed, there's no biological issue here, that we're just asking you to use your influence. Because if I call up there, one of these other guys call up there, we'll get back to you, or we'll put it on the list, but if you guys deal with it, it'll get attention.
Do you have a comment on that, Director Carter or Mr. Wilson?
I don't.
I'd be glad to contact Senator Alexander's office and Senator Corker's office. I don't know if the word audit or the word study, informational find, or whatever would be the right word, but I'd be glad to contact them and see what the process is. And I have no objections to writing a letter if there's a discrepancy that can be outlined, that can be articulated by the Fish and Wildlife Service, and I think we ought to know what that is.
I think the commission would appreciate it if you'd look into that then.
I'll do it.
Thank you. Any other questions concerning fisheries? Okay, we're through then.
Mike, you've had a good day.
Thank you.
All right, at this time, we will go to, government relations. Commissioner Woodson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and my apologies for my tardiness. I would want to recognize Nat Johnson for presentation on legislative update. As many of you know, the General Assembly opened up last Tuesday, and they are now on a 2-week recess, but there's a lot going on, new committees, new committee chairmen, elections of the speakers, although not a transition in those positions, and so I'm looking forward to Nat's report, and I'll turn it over to him.
Thank you, Commissioner. First thing I'd like to tell you is a little bit about the committee structure that the bills that affect this agency will be under next year. They've made some similar restructuring in both the House and the Senate. They've combined the agricultural interest with the environment and conservation interest in both houses. And in the House, they've done away with the Agriculture Committee and combined it with what was the Environment and Conservation Committee, so it's now the Agriculture and Natural Resources Committee. It'll hear issues from the Department of Agriculture, the Farm Bureau, Environment and Conservation, their regulatory activities, state parks. They'll hear issues from tourism and from the Wildlife Resources Agency. The structure has basically remained the same. The chairman of that committee is Representative Curtis Halford. In West Tennessee, he was on the Agriculture Committee last year, and we have worked with him very well in the past on issues that have affected this agency. In the House, there'll be a general subcommittee, and the way that works is generally bills that are controversial in nature are referred to the subcommittee. They don't go straight to the full committee. And the chairman of that general subcommittee is Representative Ron Lawler, who was chairman of that subcommittee last year. And there's obviously a smaller number of people on that. And no matter what the structure is, I think the most important thing to our interest is the people that are on it. And I think we've been very fortunate to have people that know our interests, that are very attuned to what our interests are. And I think that we'll be able to work with very well on that committee as it goes forward. Now, there's been some concern and some talk all the way around from both the agricultural community and from some people in our community about the possible loss of identity, that it doesn't have your own committee, it doesn't have, you know, our name particularly in it. I think maybe going forward for a little bit of time, it might be best that we're not the actual focus of any one committee, and we're in with a larger group, and there are going to be a lot of items that'll be available to be discussed in that committee. So I really kind of see that as a positive going forward. In the Senate, they have they've taken agriculture out of a larger committee that it was in that had a tremendous number of bills, and they've moved it over into what was the Energy and Natural Resources Committee. So it's now the Senate Agricultural and Natural Resources Committee. And we'll hear issues concerning the same 4 areas as the House does. So the bills will travel through the similar committee structure. Senator Steve Sutherland, who was the chairman of that committee last year, has remained chairman of that committee this year. I think we find ourselves in a very good position to be able to partner with some of the strong relationships we've had last year with the Department of Agriculture and the Farm Bureau. As you remember, we partnered with them very well on the wild hog transport bill that I honestly think it took all 3 of us to get it done, and I think we're very fortunate to be able to have those relationships again this year. And I can't say anything any more important about the structure is really not the issue. It's the people that we've got to deal with, and I think we feel very fortunate in the members that we've gotten appointed these committees. And I think I did forward you, email you a copy of those committee members and those structures, and you've got people who are particularly close to it. It would not hurt to reach out to those people once again and let them know who you are and what we're doing. As far as the schedule goes, I would say well, first of all, I can say nothing is finalized as far as schedules. I'd say now the most likely time for the confirmation hearings is going to be February 12th and/or 13th. The Senate has developed a one-week schedule. They do not have a permanent schedule going forward. The first week that they're back, the Senate is going to meet on Wednesday at 2. I can't guarantee that the Senate Environment Committee is going to meet on Wednesday at 2. I can't guarantee that's when it's going to be going forward, but that's the schedule they're going to try during the first week. The House has not put out any kind of schedule whatsoever. So we're shooting for and working with the clerks and planning on the February 12th and 13th date, and that's obviously the 2 days before the commission meeting that will be held in February. As far as schedules go, that's about all that I can tell you right now. As I said, I will let you know as soon as there's some clarity as to what the exact schedule is going to be and when the days are going to be. And that will not be before the week of the 28th when they come back. Very well could be the end of that week before we know anything, if we're sure then. But I would plan on those days of the 12th and the 13th.
Matt, thank you. Any questions from the commission?
Matt, explain what's the reason that it takes 2 days? You Senate one day and the House the next?
Well, it won't necessarily take 2 days. It will only be if one committee meets on a Tuesday and one committee meets on a Wednesday. They have to be there on both days. So we have a tentative schedule for the Senate for the first week. It's got them meeting on Wednesday. We have no schedule from the House. If they both meet on Wednesday, that'll be fine. The 13th, we'll take care of it. But if one of them meets on Tuesday and one of them meets on Wednesday, it will take both days.
Any other questions? Director Carter? Thank you very much, Nat.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. If I could take just a second for a couple of things. We've made some changes inside the agency in the last week or so, and about 35 years ago, Nat Johnson decided to go to work for the state of Tennessee, and 2 days ago, he decided to stop that career. So we've had a multitude of things going on. We've made a lot of other changes inside the agency as well. But anyway, Nat has served as assistant director for our agency for the last 6 years, and I could speak for quite a long time about all the contributions he's made to the agency. I can tell you that when the legislature's in session especially, he works 2 jobs. He's assistant director of the agency. He's also legislative liaison inside the agency. Generally here in the morning by no later than 7 or 7:30 at the latest, and there is no quitting time. I know when he finally leaves the office, when he's here, the rest of the time's on the cell phone. That goes weekends and nights and everything else. And I can honestly say I have never, ever heard him say one time, I'm tired of working these long hours, somebody feels sorry for me or anything else. He has hung in there unbelievably well. When a lot of times we have something coming up that he wasn't as familiar with, that he thought that he wanted to be, I've seen him study like he was taking final exams before. I expected to see no-dos on his desk at any day, but he has done an amazing job. He started out as an analyst over in the Department of Personnel, as I said, 35 years ago. Well, actually 35 years ago in a month, and worked his way up to become the deputy commissioner of the Department of Human Resources for the state, and then was acting commissioner for quite some time as well. Came over to us in December of 2006 and has been here ever since doing that particular job. I'll get back to that in a second, just to tell you how we've segued out of some of that, just to make sure that everyone knows, and I kind of put some of that in the memo that I sent out to you. We've changed the position that Nat was in slightly. We still have that assistant director over the staff operations, but Barry Sumners, who has been with the agency for a long time, I've forgotten how many, of the last 14 as chief of the division of planning and federal aid, has moved into the position that Nat formerly occupied in terms of those roles. We're currently looking for a person who will assist us in being our legislative liaison for not only the legislature itself, the legislative proper, but also throughout the rest of the state of Tennessee and county governments and city governments and anyone else that we're trying to coordinate with that has a political background that they're either doing for their city, their county, or the state. We want to be a part of that and make sure that they understand what we're trying to do so that we get better communications established all the way around. To that point, I don't know who that person's going to be. We've talked with several people. I've talked with Commissioner Woodson and some of the people in the legislature to get ideas of what they thought we should be doing and where we should be going. Thankfully, Nat knows that we all keep lots of things that could hurt each other around here. So he said, okay, yeah, I'll do it till the rest of the legislative session. So in that respect, I'm very appreciative of the fact that Nat's going to stay on and take care of that role for the rest of the time. And with that, we shouldn't see any difference. And hopefully, we can find the person that we're talking about here and move into that, and Nat can show them how we operate and pull those things together. I'm not putting any boundaries on it. I'm not ruling out people inside the agency or people that are already in government. I'm really looking for a person that everybody thinks is a good fit. So just wanted to let you know that's where we are. And if you don't remember Barry, if you would stand up just for a second. He cleaned up and everything so for the meeting today. But I know a lot of y'all have heard Barry give presentations before as it relates to federal aid. And this morning we had the final audit hearing with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. They've been here for several months, and they left, and we have a list of things. It was a great review. The things that we have findings on are primarily things where literally the rules have been changed, and even the Fish and Wildlife Service acknowledges that, well, you know, I know y'all were going by the rules, but here's what the rules have changed to now, so we're going to have to put that down as a finding. But they gave very glowing remarks about Barry and the people that work with him, so I'm looking forward to that going there as well. So one last thing, the formality. We didn't have money for a gold watch, so we went forward, and it seems so understated, but it says Appreciation Award for Nat Johnson for 35 years of faithful and dedicated service from your friends, and I would underline that part, at the Tennessee Wildlife Resources Agency. So Nat, if you would.
Congratulations, Nat. And members, I know that I've got a couple of brief remarks that I'd love to say at this time to Nat, but does any commission members want to be recognized at this time? I would encourage you if you have anything you want to share.
I just don't think that's enough. You're right. I mean, if I may, being a new commissioner, a lot more kudos and thank yous and congratulations. And for me and for the people up here, the new guys, you were so instrumental in making us feel comfortable, showing us the ropes, giving us suggestions and things that we would have never learned and never known without your help. And I think all of us up here, we grieve for losing you in that capacity, but we are so happy that you're still with us. And for me, I personally want to say thank you very much. You're making a better person and commissioner in me because of you. So I thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Any other commissioners? Mr. Chairman?
Yes, I've said this to Nat privately, but I'm glad to have the opportunity to say it publicly. Thank you for a job well done. Nat has been a tremendous help to the entire commission, to me especially, as as chairman, we've gone through some rather tedious times, to say the least, in the last couple of years. And I think his advice and guidance has been invaluable to all of us. And it's obvious his relationship with the legislators has been a tremendous help, not only to the commission, but the agency. And for that, we'll forever be grateful, Nat, and wish you the most success, health, and good health, and a great retirement. You deserve it.
Commissioner Cox?
I obviously don't know behind the scenes what has gone on in the last 6 years, but I know that Nat was a candidate for the director of this agency, and from outward appearances, I'd like to thank you for the respectful and the gentlemanly way that you have gone to work for Ed, and I guess bygones and whatever. When you're in a competition like that, sometimes it doesn't work out too well. And I think, and you guys may scream at each other every night, I don't know, but from outward appearances, I'd like to thank you for the way that you've handled yourself after that.
Any commissioners?
If
Mr.
I may, when you conclude your remarks, I have one more thing.
Great, thank you, Mr. Well, first, thank you for recognizing Nat's important contributions to the agency through the years and really to state government. I will just, if y'all will allow me one quick personal moment, I know I've got a role as with government relations in this capacity, but I had the privilege of working with Nat for 13 years before the last couple of years, very closely when he was with the Department of Personnel. And then with the agency, I had the great honor of carrying legislation that was not only in the agency's interest, but most importantly to the citizens who are served by the agency, and several pieces of legislation. And I cannot say enough the level of detail and study and work and thoughtfulness and trust that Nat pursued in his work and exhibited in every single day that he's been on the Hill, and as he continues to. I personally am very thankful to Director Carter for his leadership and continuing the team as he has. I strongly support the decision that he's made and it's sort of changing the look of this position, and I think it's very much in the best interest of the agency, and I'm absolutely thrilled that Nat will be able, particularly in the absence of a new team member, to work through this legislative session, and it's my hope that this is just a next chapter with the agency, I'll confess, but I do want to say how much we as a commission and I personally value the work that you've done for the agency. As many of you know, in life, we have one reputation. It takes a lifetime to build a great reputation. It takes one moment to destroy it. In the legislature, that's amplified. If a person doesn't tell the truth, it's over. Everything's about relationship and trust and knowledge. And Nat, every day that he works on the Hill, he is a person who is thought of as a trustworthy, thoughtful leader, and he represents the agency in a very, very strong way. So I personally appreciate you, Nat, and Mr. Director, I very much appreciate you, and be happy to turn, Commissioner Rice, and then we'll get to Mr. Thank you, Nat.
Nat, congratulations. Nat, congratulations on a great career, and to retire as a young fellow with enough hobbies to keep him busy. I know how passionate you are about duck hunting, and the fact that season closes a week from Sunday, and you, like several of us, me included, will go through withdrawals for several days. But remember, it is duck season somewhere in the world every day. All you need is a plane ticket and some want to, and you can do something about that.
Thank you. Mr. Director.
Thank you. I guess since we're telling personal story, one quick, and I'll share this with Nat. When I went home, I was telling my wife that Nat was going to retire. She said, "Why so young?" And I said, "Nat's my age." She said, "Boy, I wouldn't have guessed that." So, with that being said, yeah, I don't know where to go from there. But in any case, Ms. Russell, Mike, if y'all will allow us about a 10-minute break here, I've already asked the chairman if we could do this, knowing that everybody probably would have to take a break somewhere about this time. We also have a Nat Johnson cake that we'd like everybody in here to be able to participate in a little bit. And again, Mr. Chairman, whenever you think it's the right time, it's time to take a break and eat cake.
It's the perfect time. Everyone in the audience participate in getting you a piece of cake. All right. We'll be in recess for about 20 minutes till 2:30.